King's most famous mountaintop speech was delivered literally 24 hours before he was assassinated.
I just want to do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land.
But did you know the speech was more than just a dream? It was based on reality as he and his wife, Coretta Scott King, came to Israel in 1959. And here I am standing in the Coretta Scott King Forest, which was donated to her by the Jewish National Fund. And as you're going to see in this next report from the forest and from Martin Luther King Street in Jerusalem, you can see why his vision for the future was more than just a dream. It was a reality of going to the promised land, something that we can make come true today. And I'm so happy, as always, to be joined by my good friend, Ruth Pauline Plummer of the Covenant Daughters Television Network, and so much more. Thank you. It's so good to see you.
It's always so good to see you and to be with you. I enjoy it. I was looking forward to this, actually.
Me too, because I didn't get to spend quality time with you during this trip. We spent a lot of time with this group of over 100 women, faith leaders, business leaders, spiritual leaders, the First Lady of Martin Luther King's organization, the SCLC. Talk about this trip and why it was so important, not only for you and the women, but also, energetically.
Well, this was the first time that Christian women from across the globe, even other countries, Turks and Caicos and Bahamas, joined together here in the Holy Land to learn and be inspired by the biblical heroines of women that we so read about and learn about and are inspired about and encourage our faith. And also, not only that, but to be here and learn about Israel, the home of our faith, and also to learn about contemporary Israel and the women of today here in Israel. So it was wonderful.
In a profound way, Martin Luther King continues the struggle for peace and understanding between men and nations, more powerfully in death than in life.
Let's also talk about how Coretta Scott King carried on his legacy with Israel. Again, you don't learn it here, you don't learn it there, but what happened? She wrote a letter to the parliament and what?
Right after Dr. Martin was assassinated on April 3rd, 1968, she wrote a letter to Israel's parliament, explaining to them how thankful she was for them commemorating her husband and the work that he had done. She also mentioned to them and wanted them to solely know that Israel was so in his heart that he mentioned it in his most famous, the mountaintop speech, in his last speech, minutes before he died.
Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place.
We played on Martin Luther King Street in Jerusalem on the era of the night of Tisha B'Av, the most negative day of the year when the temples were destroyed, playing Martin Luther King's mountaintop speech, which I had no clue was done after he'd come to Israel. I didn't know this.
Well, he actually came, he and Dr. Coretta Scott King came to Israel in 1959, and they visited here, and it impacted his life, tremendously. It impacted the movement, the civil rights movement. And because of the impact that Israel had on him, the experience that he and Dr. Coretta had, it caused him to go back home and stir up the people.
I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
What I understand that to be is not something metaphorically, because the promised land is an actual land. And it's an actual promise that God made to the people of Israel. And to us, it's hope, meaning that God kept his word. For him, it wasn't a political experience. It was a spiritual experience, and he wanted the people to experience that, Black America to experience that. And so he was planning to have 5,000 people come, and there were 600 that had already registered.
I know you also had a chance to have dinner with the First Lady, the First Lady Herzog. What was that like for these women?
Well, I love Lady McCall Herzog because she is just the true essence of Lady Legacy, and all of the work that she does and the role that she plays is such an inspirational example to all women, but especially the group that had an opportunity to sit down with her, to talk with her. It was so personable, and that will go down in history forever. We still have a long way to go, but one of the things we realize is that our relationship with Israel, with the Jewish people, is so important. We've been allies, even from the start of the civil rights movement. The Jewish people have always been there to support us, always been there to look out for our well-being. And so that was a strong relationship. A lot of them died. A lot of them were persecuted because of their help for us. And here we are, Israel celebrating her 75 years celebration. And then we are all here to celebrate Israel. We just want Israel to know that we're here to bless them and we love them. And as a people, we were not a people, but we were made of people, just like the Israelites and the Jewish people. And so through slavery, we were made of people. And so we're just excited to be here and to lend our voice and to show our support.
I love you, girl.
I love you too.
And spiritual leaders each had opportunities throughout their trip to give great sermons at some of the most important Christian sites in the Holy Land. Here's an inside taste of the power of these words.
They had a mission. Yeah. They knew it was dangerous, but they had a mission. Yeah. And I am so glad they had a mission. And I am so glad Dr. King had a Coretta. Yeah. If he hadn't had a Coretta, and so I know I might sound like I'm preaching, but I'm a preacher's daughter. So anyway, I just want you all to get to see where Dr. King is coming from. So when he heard about Israel, when he heard about what was happening to the Jews and had happened to the Jews, what do you think? What do you think? His heart went out to the Jewish population.
We're going to take a short break, but please don't go anywhere. When we come back, we have much more with our very special group of African-American women visiting the Holy Land from Israel, and we're going to continue on this very inspirational tour. So don't go anywhere.